Hey, everybody. In this lesson, we're going to talk about pricing best practices. So in the previous lesson, we learned about the business model. In the business model, under the, I believe was the concept one, you had this idea of pricing. How much are you charging for what you're doing? And so in this lesson, I'm going to help you think through some ways of actually pricing your product or your service. All right, so let's begin. First of all, I want you to know the buying power of your customer. You need to understand how much can your customers afford and what they can afford. How much can they pay and what they can't pay. This is really critical because if you're serving a demographic that's on a fixed income and all they can afford is say $20, then you offer them a $100 product, then you don't really know the buying power of your customer. The example I like to use a lot with this is Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey teaches people how to get out of debt, and these people are by definition below zero. And so if you're in debt and you're below zero, you really don't have that much money. So guess what? The price that Dave set on his product, which is Financial Peace, is only about $100, which means that he understands the buying power of the people he's called to serve. So you got to understand their buying power, not your buying power, but their buying power. Because God may have you do a business that you can't even afford, but the people you're called to sell it to can't afford it, right? So just keep that in mind. Next thing, know your marketplace. Know what other people in this marketplace is charging for similar products and services of yours, right? Understand your market. Have conversations with people in that marketplace. Do research online. Figure out what's going on in your marketplace. Third, specialized services. Can you specialize the services that you're doing? So instead of just being somebody who cut grass, can you call yourself a landscaper that not just cuts grass, but makes the yards look so beautiful with certain flowers and decorations that now you can charge a higher price because you're not just cutting grass, right? You're somebody who has a specialized service. The more specialized you become, the more you can charge what you're doing. It's just like in the medical field, right? If you go to a doctor who's a general practitioner, they make a little bit of money, but if you go to a heart specialist, these people make a lot of money. Specialize your service. All right, so let's look at this next one. Is called 2+1 pricing. So basically, if you got a product and this product costs you $10 to make the product, what I want you to do is take the cost to actually make the product, multiply it by 2. So now it took you $10 to make the thing. And so you're going to charge at least $20, right? And then you take that $20 and you add some other number on top of that. So maybe you add $15. So now this thing that costs $10 to make, you're going to charge somebody $35 to do it. I call this 2+1. Why is this? Well, let's think about this. If it costs you $10 to make the thing and you sold it for $10, have you made any money? Well, no, you haven't made any money because you got to take that $10 and that has to cover the cost you used to make the product. Well, let's talk about this next. Suppose you say, okay, well, let's multiply it by 2 and now you sell it for $20. If you sell it for $20, you got to take $10 and still cover your costs. And you got to take that other 10 to go buy more materials to make the thing again. So you still haven't made any profits yet. It's only once you go to 2 plus something, that something is where your profit lies. So if you're charging $35 on a $10 thing, your profit is somewhere in that $15 mark. So that's why I call it 2+1 pricing. The next thing I want to talk about is value, not utility. Determine your charge on value instead of utility. Not the value you think you're worth, but what's the value it is to your customer. Right? So if you're doing yard work, is it really just a $20 cut? Or is what you're doing providing something that makes the customers feel a certain way? Instead of charging $20, you can charge $200. There are some barbers, like the average cost of the average cost to get your haircut in certain places, like something like $15 to $20, right? So instead of just in other places, they make the experience feel more valuable and they're charging $100, right? So it's all about the value that you're bringing. So can you charge on value, not utility? The next thing I want you to think about is pricing tiers, right? And so let me slow down. Let's think about this for a second. Pricing tiers. I want you to create 3 prices. a base price, a stretch price, and an outrageous price, right? A base price is a price that's like the base model, right? Maybe it's just $10. A stretch price, maybe someone could stretch a little bit. So instead of $10, it's $30. So it's a stretch, but the stretch price on this product means the product is better than the base. And then I want you to have a third level of pricing for this thing where you just trick it out and it become outrageous. So it's not just $10. It's not just $30. Now this next one is like $500. So that's a stretch. That's an outrageous price, right? So here's what happens in the psyche of the buyer, right? So when the buyer sees the stretch price, they're like, that's interesting, but they see the outrageous price, they're going to want the outrageous price. It's like you don't just want the car, you want the car with the V6, the sunroof, the navigation system, the tinted windows, the wheels on it. And so you look at this outrageous price. But here's what happens. Most people can't pay the outrageous price, but they say, you know what? I don't want the base model. Let me stretch and do the stretch price. It's not the outrageous one, but at least it's better than the base. So when you have those three pricing, what happens is the lower pricing is pushing people to the stretch price, and the outrageous price is pushing people down to the stretch. And so they feel good in the middle. That's why I say three prices. Your base price for a product, which is your base, no frills. It does what it says it's going to do. Your stretch price is much better than the base and it's stretching the pocketbook. And then the outrageous price, you just throw everything at it. And what it's going to do is going to get people to want to get the stretch price. Some people will take the outrageous price, but most people probably go for the stretch price. That's what I call pricing tiers with base, stretch, and outrageous. And finally, I shouldn't have said finally, we probably should do this first, but in all your pricing, make sure you check in with God. Make sure you're checking in with God. Like, what's the price I should be charging with this? And the Holy Spirit, he's here to guide us. And the Bible says, no, God's the one to teach us the profit anyway. He's going to teach you the pricing points of your product so you can make it best price for your customer and the best price for your business.